What is up, everybody? We are back a day early this time. Bigger, better business with your boy, MC Inspires, Black Superman representing the game today. Hey, West Coast, Best Coast representing LA. Man, it is good to have you guys back. It's good to see you guys every single week. I try to do one every single week. If I don't get one every single week, it's all good. I do my best. I know with COVID, a lot of people I've been talking to and connecting with, man, they're busy. They're working. I just don't pick any old random stranger that I can have on here. I pick people who I know are going to bring value to you all, because my ultimate goal is to bring value to everyone who tunes in. As long as I can bring you value and I can be of service to anybody who watches this, I am blessed. I love it. I do this for y'all. I do it for me too as well, because I'm always getting nuggets and I'm always getting so much information from the people that I bring on. So I love this. I love this opportunity. I love everybody who tunes in, who checks it out. Today is going to be my aunt, Tauleece Thomas, Auntie Ty. She is super entrepreneur, super mom, super everything. So let's get her on, because I know she's a very, very busy woman. And yeah, it was going to be a great conversation. I pray y'all learn something from this. Y'all get a bunch of information. Man, it's going to be a good experience. Hi, Auntie!
Hey,
How
you know
you
I feel real
doing?
old, right?
No, you
You know
look
I feel real
amazing.
old,
Look at
right? I'm
you.
like, I'm like, did I punch it right? Did I do it right? Sad, just
It's
sad.
okay. You know what? I've had some technical difficulties, but this is good, because if you were anybody in business or somebody who needs to learn about technology, Instagram Live, Instagram in general is a great platform. So you're about to learn something new.
Yeah, and I don't spend a lot of time on Instagram. I really don't. I'm in, technology space for work, but definitely Instagram Live is different.
Yeah, I
So
know
first
you're
time for
more
everything.
you're active on Facebook, which is good. I'm actually transitioning back towards Facebook. Like, I was big on Facebook, then I came to the Instagram side, but then I've come to learn that a lot of people in business have Facebook business pages. So I'm kind of trying
Yeah.
to figure out how do I balance both, but I'm slowly transitioning to the Facebook side. So it's all good.
Yeah, that's true. That's
It's
true.
all
I
good.
would
But
agree.
I've
I
been
have to become more adept at Instagram, for the business things that we're getting into. So,
Well,
okay,
hopefully we can talk
we'll give it
about
a
that
go.
stuff. Hopefully we
Right.
can talk about that. I know that you're very busy. If this has to be a two-part series, so be it. But I know there's two different things I want to talk to you about, as far as what you do as an attorney and what you do as far as like homeschooling. I know both are very valuable. So if we can just do like the business side, the businesswoman you today, and then the attorney side
Okay.
another day, I'm down for that. I got plenty of time.
Okay.
So with that being said, everybody, this is my Auntie Tauleece. I call her Auntie Ty. She's known me since, the womb. Again, when I bring you guys people, I don't bring just anybody on here, but I can just say that from, just some of the less life lessons we talked about, some of the personal advice she's given me, from, her watching me grow up into like a little young man doing Bible games and going to the carnivals and the festivals, to now having a kid of my own. She's seen it all. She knows exactly why Josh does what he does, because she's always like, "You used to do the same thing." And I was like, "Well, how would I used to do it?"
Exactly.
But the more of the story
Yes.
is, she's always a wealth of knowledge. And so, as always, I always like to ask anybody who's on here just to tell everybody about yourself, because this was going to happen. I'm going to post this on Facebook, on my YouTube, on my hi CC, on my Instagram page. So your kids are going to watch this, your great grandkids are going to watch this, my great grandkids are going to watch this. So this is going to go on for generations. So tell us about who you are, Auntie.
Well, my name is Tauleece Thomas. I am Mark's aunt, and I am an attorney here I'm based out of Houston, Texas. I am the wife of Roger Thomas, who we just celebrated 28 years of marriage this past Saturday.
Amen.
And I am the mom of five awesome kids, ranging in age from 26 down to 14. So we are, I just enjoy life. I enjoy my life as a mom. I enjoy my life as a wife. I enjoy my life as a professional as well. that's a little down the line for me, and it has gone further down the line the older I get, and the more I understand that I'll do well at that when I master, that wife and mom thing,
Amen.
because it feeds that for me. And if you can know that early in life, definitely, if that's the road you choose, if you choose to be somebody's spouse, to be somebody's parent, then when that is a priority, it will feed, all of the other things that you go to do. It's not either or, sometimes the world will tell you it's got to be either or, and it's not. And I'm glad it's not, because I thoroughly enjoy being a wife, being a mom, being an attorney, the other business things that we are into. And definitely, homeschooling. We've been homeschooling now since 2007. When we started, we had all 5 kids at home, and now we just graduated, or our 4th son was class of 2020, but thanks to, that old bitty Corona, we haven't been able to do like an official graduation or anything for him. But he's already started college classes and things like that. So we are down to 1, a rising 9th grader, freshman, my daughter, just it. And we're going to wrap it up and shut this school down, once she's done. But it's been a great journey, and it works well with the fact that we both work for ourselves. And that's a priority, to make homeschooling a lifestyle and make it a priority. Self-employment has definitely been a key factor in being able to do that. So it's what we do. We started a business where we consult and help new homeschoolers get going. We coordinate homeschool field trips. We do homeschool cruises, and it's a lot of fun. It's definitely a lifestyle, but it's one that I think our kids have benefited from, and I know we as parents have benefited from it as well.
I didn't know you actually flipped that into a bit. Like, I mean, I should have guessed that, but I was like, you actually made that.
Well, first of all, come on now.
I know,
Roger. Roger, that's business. That's the businessman. So, once we had been doing it for a while, and we graduated our first student, people started kind of asking us questions just about how we did what we did. Mm-hmm. And so we turned it into a business. It's called Homeschool Resource Network. And we started doing like sort of nuts and bolts of homeschool kind of classes, as well as individual consultations, where we will help people set up their homeschool, select their curriculum, determine their child's learning style, their teaching style, how to mesh those things together for maximum benefit and result from their homeschool journey. And, we kind of share it based on our own experience having 5 kids, 5 very different learning styles, yes. Things we had to do. We've got some that are real outgoing and always moving. We know who that is. And then we have those who are, a little more reserved, and so they learn very differently. And we were able to create in our homeschool an environment where they could thrive. We treat them as individual students, not this group. So what may work for one, might not work for the other, and that's okay. We're going to find what works for the other one so that he or she can be as successful as possible. So one of the things that makes that work is the fact that we work for ourselves. So we're able to keep homeschooling as a priority, and a high priority. So we've turned down jobs, clients, things that just would not mesh well with the fact that, first and foremost, we are a homeschool family. When we started, my husband said, if we're starting this, we're not going to stop until the last one is done. Amen. And that was, she was a year at that time, the last one, and now she's 14. So we will shut it down when she's done. And it's been a really great journey thus far, and we're entering a new phase because we've never just homeschooled one, so that'll be very interesting, because she's always had her siblings as her classmates and things like that. So just different, but now in light of Corona, a lot of people are having to homeschool.
Exactly. That's going to be one of my questions. It's like, first of all, shout out to Roger, like one of the greatest men that I know. Your husband, he's awesome. Like, great husband, great father, like you said, great businessman. So shout out to Roger. I do not want to leave him out of this. And shout out to your kids, Roger, Raymond, Russell, Robert, and Riley. Shout out to them. But that was actually going to be one of my questions: is homeschool going to be the new norm? Because like even when I talk to my son's mom, if everybody knows me, my son's mom are separate. We've been separated since he's in the womb. If you guys don't know that already, but we're thinking about, okay, he's going to his first grade year, and I'm like, man, I personally believe my son is the type of person where he needs to be at a school. But then even after talking to you, and I almost feel bad because I didn't know that you had it as a business. I got some free consultation and you did charge me. But after talking to you, I'm like stressing, like, how do I get this kid to learn? Because he's a different type of learner. He's like me.
Yeah.
But is homeschool going to be the new norm? And if it is, do you have any good suggestions for parents who are going to take on this heavy responsibility? Because I used to always joke around, Auntie, and say, well, school is just free daycare for parents. Like, you don't really need 8-9 hours to send this kid to school. I used to joke around and say that. But now in the Rona, it's like, well, they're at home. And so is homeschooling going to be the new norm? And how do parents deal with this?
I think to some degree, at least for the foreseeable future, some hybrid of homeschooling, schooling at home, which they are not the same thing. Schooling at home and homeschooling are very different. Some hybrid is going to be the norm that people have to get used to. And I make the distinction because what you have going on now is, yes, they're doing school at home, but the true definition of homeschooling is that parents direct their child's education. Okay. Right now, your schools are still directing your education because they're telling you the curriculum, they're telling you the schedule, they're telling you what your kid must do, has to do. There's certain time frames that your child has to either log in or things like that. Homeschooling, that's not homeschooling.
Okay.
So you're doing school at home, which, no shade, because it's not. It's definitely adjustment for new parents.
Okay.
But homeschooling is, I as a parent decide this is the curriculum I'm going to use. I'm going to use a hybrid. I may not use all the same publisher. My kid doesn't want to do online learning, so we're not going to do it. I'm going to do interest-led learning or, child-led learning. And as the parent, as the true homeschool parent, it's my right to decide that. That's not what you have going on in distance learning as a result of Corona. What you have is schools saying, yeah, here's what you still need to do, but you're just going to do it at home. But ultimately, the schools are still the authority on what curriculum gets used, how much time has to be put in. Is there testing? Is there not testing? We personally don't use testing in our homeschool. Our kids don't take a test until they take the ACT or the SAT.
Amen.
Not standardized testing. My husband taught public school for 13 years before we homeschooled, and he didn't like where he saw public education going, which was why he was like, we need to homeschool. I took a while to get on the bandwagon, and our kids probably never would have been in public school had I followed his lead initially. And it wasn't until some years later that I was like, ooh, you know what, you were right. Ooh. And that's when we then pulled the kids out. So he saw on the front end, he didn't really care where public school was going, the emphasis on standardized testing rather than true learning. A lot of push down curriculum so that kids are forced into situations where really they're doing more memorization than actual learning and absorption for application.
Yes.
And so I think you're going to have some hybrid of school at home. Mm-hmm. Now, whether that is true homeschooling or not, that's different. Yeah. Because, again, if a parent wants to take that bull by the horns and say, hey, I'm going to opt out of public school or, traditional school, and I'm going to take over, directing my child's education, then that's when they've moved into the realm of homeschooling. Gotcha. It's very doable. It's enjoyable. It isn't without its stressors, no doubt. All homeschool parents don't just love it every day. There have been, our kids can tell you, we've had those, got to fight with them to do their work days, just like a teacher, in a public school environment has to fight with the students to get them to do. Because, kids are going to try to get out of what they can. That doesn't change because they're homeschooled. It's just the difference between me and the teacher is, as your teacher, I can whoop your butt.
Right.
Or I can say, I'm not feeding you if you don't do your
My
work.
threats are legit, not just a referral.
You have experienced, Mark, some of our discipline.
Oh, yeah.
You remember, like, digging those holes and stuff like that.
Having that backyard. I mean, the lawn was about the size of the state of California, and I'm like, I cut this grass, and I'm like 8. Like, I live in an apartment. What am I going to cut a lawn for?
Right. So, you just have different things available to you as a parent. And again, it creates a lifestyle. So you're always learning. School isn't just during these set hours, but instead, passive learning is going on. Active and inactive learning is always going on. And that creates an environment of learning that you might think, well, I don't see this kid sitting down with books all the time, or, an average homeschool day really doesn't have to take more than 3 or 4 hours. Because you don't have 30 kids, you don't have got to break for lunch, got to break for recess, got to change classes. You don't have all of those other time fillers that would normally be an issue. So with that being the case, I think you do have to accept that homeschooling or some sort of schooling at home is going to be a part of your environment for the foreseeable future. I think what parents have to do is accept that, be real honest with themselves about themselves and about their students, because you've been sending your child to school, but your child is a product of your home. Mm-hmm. So if he's not listening to you or won't do his work, imagine what the teacher was maybe dealing with. Mm-hmm. Because home is their first place of learning. It's their first place of, training and education and things like that. It doesn't have to be negative, but also, be willing to open your mind with regard to what it takes to teach a child. And not every child learns the same way, and that's okay. Gotcha. In a school environment, teaching has to be normalized because you have so many that you have to teach. But in a homeschool environment, it can be tailored to that student, to his or her learning style. If they have any disabilities, learning, you can really address those for that student. I think that is one of the most awesome things about homeschooling is you can teach to their strengths. So that gives them confidence in those areas where they're weak, because they're not always feeling like what they can't do.
Absolutely.
Rather than, what they can do. And, well, if I can do this, then I can do that. Then I can do this. It breeds a sense of confidence. So, I do think that homeschooling or schooling at home or some sort of distance learning is going to be around, for a while, for the foreseeable future. I don't know that it'll replace traditional school. I can't say that I necessarily see that, but I do see that the hybrid existing quite, in some way, shape, or form. And so with that, I would suggest that parents access resources. Your child's education hasn't primarily been your responsibility. You've been the supplement. But now you need to embrace the role of being the primary teacher. You were the primary teacher when they potty trained, when they learned to tie their shoes, when they learned their name, or, things like that. Go back to that. And it's also okay if there are things you don't know as a parent. No teacher knows everything. Mm-hmm. So the idea that, this homeschool parent doesn't know this or doesn't know that, well, then what you don't know, go find someone or someplace that does know it.
He just dropped the gem on y'all. Y'all better pay attention.
What you don't know, access it, find a resource for it, and move along.
Hey, y'all dropped the gem on y'all.
benefit your student that way. That's what we do through HRN. But there's, plenty of other resources that you can look up online. You have to be honest with yourself about what you do and don't know, because you can't help if you don't first say, "Ooh, I don't know that. I'm not very good at that." And instead of passing that on, well, I'm not good at math, so my kid's not going to be good at math. Say, I'm not very good at it, but we can learn together. That's the beauty of that home education too, is it requires you to be a lifelong learner. So there are things that I regularly revisit because of having 5 children. I was ordering books for my daughter, and here comes the algebra book. I'm thinking, ooh, this is my last one. This is our last time we're going to have to go through these algebra books. And everybody learns differently, so you got to teach it differently,
Absolutely.
But it's there. It's there. It's doable. There are resources. Like I said, our clients have, really enjoyed, because we, through HRN, we definitely make it more of a boutique service. So Roger spends a lot of time with the client, getting to know the client, to then put together the best plan for them. And because homeschooling has to be based on your home. So it's not going to look like somebody else's because you don't live in their home.
Can I stop you right there? That's something that's so important that I've been teaching maybe the past couple of days. When you said everybody's client is not going to be the same, so I'm going to stop and get to know my client so I can make a package that is molded to their needs.
For them.
That's something that anybody who's in entrepreneurship needs to understand. Write that down, because I preach the same thing when it comes to giving out life insurance. Everybody's life insurance plan isn't the same. Everybody's retirement plan isn't the same. So we take the time as entrepreneurs or business owners to get to know the client, because I don't want to just give you something that's cookie cutter that doesn't fit for you. And I need y'all to catch that. When anybody who watches this, pay attention to what she just said. That is a gem. This isn't a cookie cutter business, whether it's homeschooling, life insurance, being an attorney, whatever it is. When you're a good business person, you build a relationship with your client, and you implement something that is detailed to that client, whether it's their parents and their kids. That is something very key. So I want everybody to catch that. That was a nugget.
And a lot of times, parents will say, help me learn how to teach my kid. And Roger will say, well, I got to start with you.
Absolutely.
As the parent. I need to know what kind of what teaching style you actually lean toward. Because what parents will think is, well, the way they are most comfortable teaching is the way that their child is going to most get it. And it may not be the case. So your child may pull you out of your comfort zone in order to best service their educational needs. And that's, one of the things that he works with parents. And he says, hey, the kid is easy. It's getting the adult to say, oh, okay, I need to change.
Good at this.
Right, I need to change. I need to adjust, because, and it's like he tells parents, and we tell parents all the time, you already got your degree. You already have your high school diploma. We're trying to get him his. So the teaching needs to match what he needs to achieve that, not what makes you comfortable to teach, because you've already got yours. And when you can get them to embrace that, then that's kind of half the battle, because they become open and say, okay, well, what should I try? I wouldn't have needed to learn it that way, but maybe my kid does. What should I try? So, and a lot of it, he will mold in the parenting aspect, because teachers are not just children's parents, but you are. And so, we refer people. We wrote a book back in 2013. It's an ebook, real short book, called Raising Spirits. And it just had a lot of anecdotes, questions people had asked us about raising 5 kids, and what do you do here, and what do you do there. And one of the things that we talk about in there is, if it's a 2-parent household, especially, if you're talking to mom, you're talking to dad.
Okay.
And where homeschooling is concerned, there has to be that unity. And if the kids don't see that, then there is a crack or a place where they might try to hide. So our kids will, our kids regularly say, if you're talking to mom, you're talking to dad. And what does that mean? We may express something differently, but we're coming from the same point.
I like that.
We have the same beliefs as far as parents. And they need to see that. That provides security, that provides comfort, even when they can't, trick you. But it is definitely a place of, it gives a really good stable foundation. And so we ask our clients, read our book, read the ebook in from the parenting perspective, and just ask yourself some of these things. You know, you have to be willing in that mode to admit when you're wrong, to admit when you've made a mistake. And a lot of parents don't feel like they have to do that because they're the parent. Yet that's the key to teaching a child how to do that. If they never see you say I'm sorry, if they never say you say I was wrong, if they never see you say my bad, I messed up, if they never then have you say I'm sorry, you know, will you forgive me for how that offended you? Because yes, you can offend your child.
Oh yes, I've done it to a 3-year-old.
Trust me.
5-year-old, 6-year-old.
Yeah, and so it's those kinds of things that when you wrap them into the idea that I am now directing my child's education, you're going to pour all of that into it. So it's not just going to be about math, reading, writing, you know, it's going to be about life lessons and the whole person. And yes, the whole person does need math skills, does need reading skills, does need writing skills. But that whole person needs those skills that can take information and look at life circumstances and situations and apply them. So if they are no good at it, if it's just not in a book, then you're not really educating them, you're training them. And training and education is very different.
Gems. Ooh, y'all better catch this. Let's go.
You know, so that's one of the things. So homeschool life is great. We love it. You know, I know one of the other things is I'm a practicing attorney. I've been an attorney for a little over 20 years now. I do have my own private practice, so I do some family law, some criminal defense, small business, contracts, stuff like that. Pretty much anything I want to get into because it is my practice. That's the beauty of it. There are some areas that, you know, I'm not that fond of, but I do them. I didn't used to do family law. I do it more and more. I find myself representing young fathers fighting for their rights, you know, and you know, and it's been really rewarding to do that. But I also, you know, try to support my husband as much as I can in the business endeavors that he gets into. He's an excellent business consultant, so he's able to help small businesses grow and build plans for growth. And, you know, I function in a support to him as he does that, as he has multiple projects working and stuff like that. So we do that, and then we run the homeschool business together. I'm my daughter's Girl Scout leader. He's a leader in our Boy Scout troop. We run a homeschool group here in Houston. So it's a busy life, but again, it's a life that self-employment allows to work. You know, now I do work for another company, but I work remote. So everything I do for that company, I do from right here, you know, in my house on a laptop. I have to travel a couple of times a year to the, you know, to the main office. But other than that, everything I do, I'm right there, you know, working alongside my husband. My kids are at the other end of the table. So when school, you know, if they have questions and stuff like that, we make it work. You know, we like the flexibility of homeschooling. And I like the flexibility of entrepreneurship, which I had to learn that from my husband. He's always been entrepreneurially minded, but I grew up very much in a household where, no, you had a job. You know, you went to a job, you worked for someone else. That's what my dad did. He did it for 30 years, and that's how he took care of me. So that was my thought or expectation, unfortunately. So I didn't always understand what my husband was trying to do. And I didn't necessarily know how to support that early on. And, you know, that's probably my biggest regret in life is I didn't get it earlier. It didn't make sense to me earlier because I could have been so much more of a support as a mate to say, okay, well, if that's what you wanted, okay, here's how I can build into that. I was like, why you ain't getting a job? you need to get a job. And he was like, okay, that's not what I see for myself, you know, but he came from a family of entrepreneurs, of small business owners. So that was not uncommon for him. And so, you know, over 28 years, that was something that had to be meshed I had to understand that if I'm truly going to love and respect this man, then I can't try to make him be this other thing. Just like he didn't say, well, why do you want to be a lawyer? You should go be this or that. No, instead, you know, his words to me were always, your dreams became my dreams. So when I went to law school, you know, he said, no, you're not going to work. You don't have to work. He worked 3 jobs, you know, and we were having kids while I was in law school. And you know, when I started law school, we had a 15-month-old, our oldest. By the time I graduated, we had 2 more. The third one had been born like a month before I graduated. But, you know, he always worked a full-time job and 2 part-time jobs to put me through law school.
Let's go.
And, you know, he opened up our home to my knothead nephews in the summers still.
Yes.
To come and stay the summers and, you know, be an encouragement to them as best he could. So, you know, had I got it earlier, golly, I don't know where we'd be now. Not that I'm complaining about where we are, but I just see that I could have, you know, had I had that understanding earlier of truly what it meant to function in the unit and support, rather than say, well, why don't you do this, instead of how can I help you do what it is you're saying you want to do. Because that's what he did for me. You know, he never suggested go do something else. It was, okay, well, how can we best make that happen? And, you know, and I appreciate that. You know, like I said, I've known my husband since I was 11. You know, we met, I was 11, he was 12. Headed to youth choir rehearsal, you know, and,
yes.
You know, he was my prom date, and, you know, and we married very young, or what was seen by others to be very young. I was 21, he was 22. And, you know, we have made it work. We have made it work. And the thing that I learned is to make that union, that's a covenant relationship. Mm-hmm. Nothing else is a covenant relationship. So God's not going to look at me with the highest level of expectation out of any other relationship other than that covenant relationship. Even parenting is a stewardship relationship. It's supposed to end. They become grown. You're not in covenant with your children. That's a stewardship relationship. And when they become adults, your stewardship over them ends. Hopefully, you've managed your stewardship well, so they are prepared to manage themselves.
Amen.
You know, we speak of that in our book, that they don't belong to us. They belong to him. It's a stewardship. But my covenant is with him. And I had to learn not to let anything come or challenge or rival that covenant relationship. And when I got that, when I got that, it started to flow better, you know. So.
Oh my God,
that's kind of
bars. That's bars. Yo, I didn't even think of marriage covenant. I'm gonna have to rewatch that because I want to take notes, but then I want to be attentive for everybody that watches this. But I'm thinking like,
marriage is a covenant, parenthood is stewardship.
Bars and man, I want to say so much in that, but that was just amazing. Like I want to cry just a little bit, but I just want to go to one thing, and then I want to ask you another question. But the key that really stood out for me, and I said this when I did my interview with Cora and Riley, I said when we were brought up, it was go to school, get good grades, go to college, get you a good job, right? And I always think to myself, if I would have known about entrepreneurship at like 12, it would have been a wrap. Like it would have been over.
Yeah.
But I really didn't get into the journey until I was like 27, 28.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I see these young.
Well, that's what, and that wasn't in your environment. You know, that wasn't your norm. So,
exactly.
You know, it wasn't my norm. It's why I didn't understand it, you know, in those early years when Roger was like, no, I want to, you know, work for myself on my own. And I was like, but that means you ain't going to have no job. You know, it was crazy, man. It was crazy. That's what I said. That man, he really put up with a lot, quite honestly. He put up with a lot.
But I didn't know it was like, ooh, child. Anyways, I want to move on just a little bit.
Yeah.
Going towards education. Now, here's something that's very hot in the news right now, especially for sports world. You got a lot of young bulls going from, I'm going to Duke, I'm going to this school, I'm going to go to Howard. I'm going to go to a HBCU. And
HU,
I know you're a
HU.
proud Howard alumni. I wish, some days I do wish, I love Michigan, but I do wish I would have went to like a Morehouse or a Howard. How is that? Like, why is it so sexy now? And I'm not saying it hasn't always been sexy, but it's becoming more popular in the Black community to go to a Howard or to a Morehouse or to Xavier.
I
What is
think
your
that
take on the
happens.
HBCU culture and why more Black people, more Black men and women should go to HBCU with your experience, from your experience?
Well, I think that HBCUs provide a space in time, especially in that young adult time in your life, when you're 18 to 22, where you can grow into your adulthood in a space that is truly designed for you.
Mm-hmm.
And no slant against other universities, but that's not their initial mission. Never has been.
Mm-hmm.
You are an afterthought, not a part of their mission. But HBCUs, you are a part of their core mission as to why they exist. They exist to build you up, young Black man, young Black woman. They exist to give you opportunities, young Black man, young Black woman. They exist for you to have a space in which you look around and see excellence, and that excellence is like a mirror reflection of you.
Mm-hmm.
Because then that says to your mind, my math, I can master math. I can master this. I can, because these people who look like me are already mastering it. It also provides a very nurturing environment. I always joke about the fact when I was at Howard and walking across the yard one day, and I was supposed to be in class, but I was late because I was caught myself profiling on the yard. And my professor literally stuck his head out the window and yelled out my whole government name. He said, Tauleece Ray Post, get your butt in this class. Your parents are not paying this old expensive tuition for you to be fly on the yard.
Beautiful.
Beautiful. Shame. Just shame. And then I got into class, and he told my classmates, and since Miss Post thought that, we were on her schedule, how about we have a quiz? Really? So everybody is side-eyeing me. Oh, yeah. And Dr. Morris, love him to death. But that's just the kind of love that you will, there's going to be an investment in you well beyond you just being a student or a number or an ID number or, and I tell people all the time, I'm still very close to my dorm director, from Howard, who now works in the provost's office. My closest friends. We have HBCU rivalries, of course, but it's like we could talk about other HBCUs, but nobody else talk about HBCUs, especially if you didn't go. If you didn't go, you keep our names out your mouth kind of thing. So, but I also think that I like the fact that when you're at a HBCU and folks come recruiting, they are looking for someone who looks like you.
Absolutely.
You don't have to have them take a chance on you. If they come to PWIs, they're not really looking for you. And people hate to hear that, but that's just the truth. My husband experienced that. He went to a PWI for undergrad. And he was all but told, man, I really wish I would have seen you like down at Morehouse when we went to Morehouse. Because they weren't looking for him in that environment. Yes. So and let that environment empower you. Let that environment build you up and give you that sense of ownership because it was created for you. Absolutely. That's why my kids, you're going to an HBCU. Now, none of them have gone to Howard. That's okay. And
they're Prairie View alumni, baby, hanging tough, baby. We
are a Prairie View family. Trust me. They're like, you need to find a graduate degree to get at Prairie View, Mom, so we can all,
Going from there.
So, but for what they wanted to do, Prairie View has so much been for them. I mean, 4 out of 5 of my kids want to study agriculture, ag business, ag finance, soil science, animal and food nutrition. Those are the things that they want. So why would you not go to the best for that? And Prairie View, hands down, their ag department is stellar, and my kids have gone to school. Our kids have gone to school on full scholarships. We haven't paid a dime. There is a way to do this, so definitely HBCUs are the way to go. We're going to support them and encourage them, from the rooter to the tutor, because they are a gem that there's so much more to them than just what's in the classroom. And that's what I think, that it's that space, and it's your space. And it's a space that says, no, you go ahead, you grow. We're going to nurture you because you were in our minds when this place was conceived of. So that's
Woo!
it,
Two more quick questions. I know you got to go. The one
Yeah, I got to.
I want you to answer real quick is, what has it been like going from like court to COVID? Like, what has that transition been like being in the courtroom? Because I'm a people person. I like
Oh, we just do it on Zoom. We have hearings on Zoom.
And it's just like, all right,
yeah,
we still gonna handle it.
I had a bail hearing. I've had
the judge is there.
Everybody is there. Yeah, right. And literally, we just, all the hearings are on Zoom now until further notice. We can't have any jury trials because they haven't quite figured out if, a jury trial by Zoom violates, some constitutional rights. So those have been, put on hiatus. But I've had plenty of hearings just by Zoom, And, the Texas Supreme Court has said, hey, everything should be done remotely until at least through September for us.
Amen.
So we know for sure we're not going back to court before the end of September.
That's fair.
So it was weird at first, it was weird, but I think everybody's kind of getting used to it now.
Yes. Well, I know personally, because I usually ask about adversity. You said a lot of different stories and scenarios, some I didn't even know about. But just for my listeners out there and watchers, she survived Houston floods, house being flooded, having kids
twice,
twice. Having kids in law school, like, you face a lot of adversity. If y'all wondering, like, oh, why did he ask the adversity question? Because she's faced a lot of adversity. She already gave him one example, but she has plenty of examples. This is a hardworking woman who's been through a lot, but and we see her success. We hear her success. We hear her testimony. We hear her spirit. So I'm thankful for that. My last question is always one of my most important questions is, you're a very, young woman still, early 30s, maybe, I see it there, what I'm saying? But
you see my growth? You contributed to some of that too.
I know I did, because I was your favorite nephew, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
From the moment you were born to, to the moment God brings you to glory, there's always that little dash in between where it says you started here, you ended here. For that dash, how do you want to be remembered as, Auntie? When people say, I know what I'm going to say, but when people say, I remember Tauleece Thomas as this, what do you want people to think of? How do you want people to feel?
I want people to say, she lived out the Christ that she said she served.
Amen. Let's go.
And I haven't always done that. I haven't always been the greatest at that. And so that's really, really important to me right now. Living in truth, and living healthily. And I'm not just talking about like physical healthiness, but I've had to move to a place of understanding spiritual and emotional healthiness and fighting for that at all costs and spreading healthiness to others. And if I can do that, if I can leave here and know that I represented Christ well, that I represented the concepts of truth and healthiness well, and we don't always have to agree about what is truth, but my truth has to be what I live, and sometimes people want your truth to be different. Amen. But you have to live your truth, because ultimately you have to stand and give account, and God's going to be like, yeah, that was their truth, but what about your truth? And so that's what that dash for me is, that I was healthy, that I lived in my truth, regardless of what it cost me. Amen. Because ultimately I represented him, Woo! And if I do that, then I'm a good wife, I'm a good mom, I'm a good friend, I'm a good professional, I'm a good relative, when I can be. So that's my dash, is Amen. Living in truth. Yeah.
That's what I'm hey, thank you, Auntie. They're definitely gonna have to do a part two. Everybody I bring on here, there's definitely gonna be a part
we have to get Roger. We have to get Roger with us.
We're gonna have to get Roger on here. So somewhere down the line, we're gonna get Roger here, and he's gonna talk. I might have to just call him because I'm in the small business sector. I'm working on my LLC and EIN and all that. So I'm gonna pay some money to sit down and talk with him. So let me get my bread
That's
up a
what he
little bit
does.
first. So I know
Yeah,
he ain't
that's
cheap.
what he
You know what I'm
does.
saying?
No, he
But
ain't
thank
cheap.
you
He
so
ain't
much.
cheap.
I love you. I love you.
Love you too.
I know I can't wait today till you actually physically get to meet my son. It's going to happen soon, but we're gonna come
Yeah.
down there when it slows down. And I want you to see my heartbeat, walking around. So thank you again. We're gonna do this soon. We're gonna get Roger on in time. Give me like a month and a half. I might have an official podcast. We don't know yet. Shh. But thank you so
Okay.
much. Enjoy your day. Go work hard. Thank you for taking the time to get on. I appreciate you so much. I love you so much.
All right. Love you too. Bye bye.
All right, bye. Man, you guys, I told you I only bring you fire. I only bring you gems. I only bring you the best. I don't just put anybody on here, right? I'm just telling you, she dropped some gems, and it was so smooth and fluid that, again, I wish I could take notes. I'm going to go back and rewatch this and take notes. But most importantly, man, I want you guys to understand the importance of what she talked about, homeschooling versus schooling from home, the importance of marriage and being on one accord with your spouse. As you see, I'm not married yet, but that's something that I really want to strive to when I get married, is being on one accord with my spouse, being so connected where, the kids are like, hey, you're talking to mom and dad, and not like, oh, well, dad's going to say this and mom's going to say this. No, being on one accord with your spouse, the value of an HBCU, the value of being somewhere where you're welcome and loved, the value of just, you got to understand something, right? She's just not an attorney. She's just not somebody who has a homeschool business or has this or has that. She is somebody who had to learn the values and the ideas and the concepts and the motivation and the vision of entrepreneurship from her husband, right? She is a businesswoman. They are a business family. The Thomas family is a business, right? And from that sector of their business, what they do is, she's an attorney. She also runs a homeschool business. She also has different clients in counseling. She does this, she does that, right? But her overall is, I am a business. I am a businesswoman. I'm a business wife. I'm a business family. A lot of people need to understand that you can be this and that, but just make sure you remember your overhead. And then the overhead above that is, she is a woman of God. That is the key that you need to take away. Being a woman of God, a believer, and knowing that you're put on this earth for a reason. She found out that she had a talent and she had a gift, not just being an attorney, but being a businesswoman and teaching other families how to homeschool their kids, how to prepare their kids for college, how to prepare their kids for life. She didn't just stay closed-minded to, you know what, I went to school to be an attorney and this is all I'm going to do. No, she didn't just close her life off to just one sector. Her husband probably had to drive and drive and drive and drive and show her through his walk and his vision that when you open your mind, oh my God, the possibilities are endless. So anybody who watches me, anybody who follows me, this is something I preach about a lot. I have little mentees. I saw my young mentees pop on here. Shout out to Ozzy and his clothing line. Y'all support your boy. But you just got to understand that don't be closed off to opportunities. Don't be closed off to hard work. Don't be closed off to, learning a craft from somebody else, studying. Don't be afraid to say, hey, because I don't know this, I'm going to learn this, right? So with that being said, thank you guys for tuning in. I'm going to post this on my Facebook, my Instagram, my YouTube, Mark Hooks Inspires. Follow, subscribe. And I always ask you to share this, right? Because you never know who's going to find value from this. You never know who's going to need this information. And guess how much a share is? It's free. So all I ask is that you follow on YouTube, follow on Facebook. My business page is coming soon. I'm going to post a lot of this information. Follow, share. Thank you for tuning in. Next week, I'll have another special guest for you. Until then, MC Inspires, Black Superman. Remember, agape love is the greatest form of love because we always lead with love. Why? Because every day when we see somebody who's in a specific situation and we have the opportunity to make their life better, to make their situation better, we choose to act on their behalf every single time. Agape love. You guys love each other. Be inspired. Get better being yourself. I'm out.